Where my license?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Lots of news stories. Michigan, where they cut. I figured for relevant to us, you're talking about spending, $5.1, $3.4 million.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting of the Bedford Charter Township to order. Please rise for a moment of reflection, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start with roll call. Clerk Baraka.
Supervisor Jones here. Clerk Baraka here. Treasurer Miller.
Here.
Trustee Hires.
Here.
Trustee Beamish.
Here.
Trustee Greenwood.
Here.
Trustee Dingman.
Here.
7, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of the agenda for July 13th board meeting. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the agenda for the July 13th, 2023 meeting as submitted. I've already emailed all of you before this, just one thing to change, and that is on resolution 7/13/2338. We will strike the words "and for supervisor" there. And you all had an email on that this morning. Okay, do I have a motion? Well, this is for the agenda. The agenda? So moved. So moved. So, Greenwood and okay, discussion on the agenda? Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, roll call?
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Baraka. Yes. Treasurer Miller. Yes. Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the June 26, 2023 special meeting. That was the meeting regarding the Ellis Harmonia water project. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the June 26, 2023 special meeting minutes as submitted. Support. Ayers, Greenwood. Discussion. Any discussion on the minutes? Changes? I'm seeing none. Roll call?
Clerk Baraka. Yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and next we have approval of the closed session minutes from that same date, June 26, 2023. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the June 26, 2023 closed session minutes as submitted. I will distribute those to you. Beamish,
Support.
Freeman. Any other discussion? We'll take those back. Okay, roll call.
Trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
trustee Dingman,
Yes.
supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Bronco, I'm going to abstain, I wasn't there. Treasurer Miller,
Yes.
trustee Hires,
Yes.
trustee Beamish.
Yes.
6 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And next we have supervisor comments. Lots happening at Bedford, so just to keep you all in the loop, the River Road project, we had the opening of sealed bids. That took place on June 30th here at the Township offices at 2 o'clock. We received 4 bids. Those were tabulated. They were in your packet. We'll discuss those more this evening. We are moving forward on this with several votes this evening. Again, all that information was shared in the packet. We also had two meetings since our last regular board meeting. June 19th, we held an informational meeting for residents who were in the Ellis Harmonia area and any other interested parties related to the PFAS contamination there. We then had a board vote on June 26th to move ahead with the application, again, for another DWSRF loan or grant, again, going after hopefully 100% loan forgiveness for those residents as well. So that's been submitted as of July 1st. We continue doing the revisions for the website. I was not able to attend the virtual meeting yesterday, but I think the deputy clerk, and Mr. McKinley, the superintendent, attended. Things are looking very good there. We'll have migration pretty soon, so moving in the right direction. Again, hopefully going live within a couple of months. As you all know, we've announced that the assessor, Joyce Fundel, will be retiring soon. She would like to be done even by August or September if she could. So we've been advertising both locally, word of mouth, with MTA and also with the Michigan Assessors Association. We do believe, and maybe Mr. McKinley will be addressing this, that we have a potential candidate actually from the area that we will start maybe possibly interviewing for the position. Coffee and Conversation, which is funded through the senior millage allocation. We've been blessed to have that support for almost 2 years now. It's good attendance, usually around 10 to 12 people. Very casual event, enjoyed by a lot of the seniors in the township. So we encourage you, if you haven't come, to join us and have coffee and donuts. And we'll be looking at probably writing another grant for continued support of that. I want to just mention, and some of you have called the township about this, but recycling, we did add a second bin because it was, it was met with a lot of support, a lot of people using it appropriately. However, we have ongoing issues with trash being dumped into the recycling container. Sometimes when they're overflowing, people are continuing to stuff things in or leave them laying out on the side, which looks terrible, and it's created a problem for Republic as well in terms of emptying the bins. So we really have to, we're gonna try this a little bit longer. I don't want to stop it because there are so many people who are using it appropriately and find it very helpful. But I do want to just remind residents, please break down your boxes. Please only put articles that are recyclable in the, that mixed container. And then just an update on that abandoned gas station, because everything moves way more slowly than I would like it to. We did find out, as I mentioned several months ago, that we have funding through the Calhoun County Land Bank for the demolition of that eyesore on West Michigan, the abandoned gas station. I had an email from Krista Trout Edwards at the land bank on June 22nd. They were finalizing the due diligence that needs to be done environmentally there, and then finalizing a contract for that demolition. It's a little bit of a problem though, because they've talked with their environmental consultants and the state land bank, and they have determined that we're going to need to leave most of that concrete there as a cap for the contamination that happened there, so as a cap to the site. So that means that what they're going to need to do is recurb that street, because they don't want trucks or cars parking on it. It's gonna look like it's like an empty lot. So they want to prevent that. One of the things that she asked me today when I was asking for an update was what would we think about barriers being placed there so that cars couldn't access that. And I said, are we talking indefinitely, or what kind of barriers? It would be better than the building that we have there right now, which does tend to attract teenagers, and we have broken windows, and we're concerned about what happens in that building. So we know we need to get that down, but we also would like to make the area more aesthetically pleasing. So that's kind of an ongoing discussion. I also found out from her today, we had applied for the second phase of the state light elimination grant, and we were looking at the demolition of Fire Station 1. Fire Station 1 has been condemned, well, it's been designated at the upper floor dangerous since 2017. So it is something, it's an issue that the township needs to address. We need to keep looking at that. It needs to be out in front of this board or the next board. So we'll look for funding both for demolition and for the bricks and mortar, if we can find it. We did do a preliminary congressional district spending grant application, the preliminary portion of that, to Senator Gary Peters' office several months ago. We probably won't hear about that or whether we're successful. It's a long shot, but something we wanted to go after, hopefully by later in the fall. Okay, and that's what's going on right now in Bedford. So we will now move on to public comment. This portion of public comment, there's 2 public comments at our meetings. One at the beginning, which is for agenda items only. So please stick to agenda items during this public comment. At the end, you may address us on any township business that you would like. I sadly find it necessary to repeat the rules for public comment and decorum. I will recognize all persons wishing to speak during public comment. No person shall address the township board without first being recognized by the supervisor. To provide for orderly public comment, each public comment submitted to the board made by an individual shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration unless extended by agreement of the presiding member of the board. There's a time clock here that you can watch as you're presenting to the board, so you're aware of that. All comments shall be made from the speaker's podium, and any individual making comments shall first give their name. The first public comment is limited to items, as I just said, on the agenda. The last is for any topic of interest or concern to you. Public comment is not a question and answer period. It provides you an opportunity to express your concerns, opinions, questions to the board. All comments should be directed to the presiding member of the board. The board will not respond to comments made during the public comment period unless it becomes necessary to ask a clarifying question, immediately correct a factual error, or provide specific additional information. If that's the case, we will try to pause your time. You will get that time back. Board members may choose instead to address certain public comments during their personal privilege time at the end of the meeting. There will be no demonstrations during or at the conclusion of anyone's remarks or presentations. The Township Board authorizes the Township Supervisor to A, interrupt, warn, or terminate an individual's public comment when the comment exceeds 3 minutes. B, request that any individual leave the meeting and or request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of such individual when such individual's conduct is a breach of the peace by interfering with the orderly progress of the meeting pursuant to MCL 15.263 subsection 6 of the Open Meetings Act. And C, call for a recess or adjournment to another time if an individual's lack of public decorum creates an environment in which the board is unable to conduct the business of the township. Okay? All right, sorry about that, but it bears repeating. Okay, anyone wish to make public comment on agenda items?
This is about the deputies
and you guys are gonna be discussing that later. I noticed on the, excuse me, you come in the hours of the township at 7:30 to 4:30. You look on the website, it's the same thing. I just got my tax bill in the other day, and it says for the treasury department, they don't have to be here till 8 o'clock. Now, why is that? Hopefully you guys will address that and talk about it later. You know, it's kinda like go down to Belposh here and get your groceries, and there's no cashier, so what do? I know last year I tried to get a dog license, couldn't get it, because they weren't here. It's the same thing. Where I work, you gotta work 36 hours to make sure you can get your life insurance or your health insurance. You know, they voted us in years ago about giving you guys, not you guys, not all you guys, 4-day week. So, you know, they're getting away with quite a bit as it is. So they should at least be here from 7:30 to 4:30. I don't never remember a board decision saying they could come in at 8 o'clock, like from the meeting, so, I just like that to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on agenda items? Yes.
My name is Justin Schatz. I'd like to say that, first of all, mine will actually be on agenda items. The first agenda item I'd like to speak to is the resolution to authorize the, I guess you clarified superintendent only, not supervisor, to post job listings. You know, this is just another example of the way Bedford is doing things lawlessly. You've already posted the listing for the job, and now you're, after already posting the listing for the job, you're gonna go through and suggest a resolution to give yourself authorization to skip the public process of letting all of us know. I don't think that's very good governance. You know, it kind of reminds me of like when I was arrested and thrown out of a meeting, and then rules were passed after that that condoned that happening. You know, and most of our, I think, general perception of things happening decently and in order and justly, the rules come first, and then if you violate the rules, then there's trouble. The rules come first, and then you have the authorization to do something. But it seems that for the ruling class here in Bedford, there's a different program. It seems that you get to just do what you want first, then you pass a resolution or something saying that it was okay for you to do that, that now you've got the authority to do that, and then you just move forward as though it was always okay. You know, where is the part in public perception? You know, you've got 2 public comment times here, and this one for agenda items, the next one's supposedly open. Many boards find it to be proper representation to have a public comment after any major agenda item, especially one where there'll be a vote, especially one where there'll be a resolution changing government practice here in the township. You're suggesting that no longer should the public be privy to a resignation or a firing happening. No longer should the public be first privy to knowing what's happening and then seeing the board authorize a posting of a job or something like that. But now there's just this dictator-like authority to just run the government without the public being bothered or notified or checked with, or what do they need to know about it? That's not the American way, but that's the way things keep trending here in Bedford. And it's a real problem. You know, with the water project, y'all could have done 5 seconds of diligence in your jobs and knowing what's going on with the federal designation on PFAS and water.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Schatz. Anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Agenda items, sir?
Madam Supervisor, thank you. Members of the board, my name is Joe Lawson. I'm here on behalf of Consumers Energy. I'm here to speak in relation to the draft solar ordinance that's before the board this evening. As you're probably well aware, the Calhoun County Planning Commission on June 26th did take action to recommend to the Township Board that they deny the proposed text amendment as presented and to return the language back to the Township Planning Commission for further review. We, as Consumers Energy, are here to ask the board to take that into consideration as we as well feel that many of the items within the ordinance itself, as written and presented, are either excessive, overly restrictive, or bordering on the line of being, I say overly restricted. And what was I trying to say? I lost my train of thoughts. So, per the staff report that was provided by Calhoun County, and getting to the points, the setback requirements, as mentioned in the report, have a non-participating setback of 300 feet, right away of 300 feet. I won't explain it all to you, but the recommendation of the county was to reduce that setback down to 75 feet from non-participating. And these recommendations come out of a larger study that was performed and published by the University of Michigan and Michigan State University as being basically an industrial standard, or industry standard, excuse me. And one of the larger ones that causes concern for consumers in developing an effective and cost-effective project is the setbacks between participating parcels. Currently, as it's written, it's 50 feet between participating parcels. So if we own multiple parcels, then we'd have to have that setback. So we end up having 100 feet of wasted space between panels on our own property. Trying to make these facilities condensed and as efficient as possible, that just goes against that principle or that thought process. Also, within the setback realm, is that all inverters, well, batteries and accessory buildings, but mostly for us, we're concerned about the inverters, have to be a setback 1,000 feet from any property line. Once again, we're eventually going to abut a non-participating parcel within our facility. If we were to build one in 1,000 feet from that property line, it seems excessive. And then, just to be consistent throughout the ordinance, there's other items, and some of my colleagues can speak to that, but we're trying to get to a point where we ask you to send it back to the commission so we can continue a dialogue if at all possible. So we don't get to a point where anything's exclusionary or possibly exclusionary or overly restricted. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to address the board on agenda items this evening?
Supervisor, board members, Greg Moore, Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy for this region. As Joe said, there's a number of things we're concerned about here, and the main request tonight is to take action to send the proposed changes in the solar ordinance back to the Planning Commission for further review. One of the reasons for that is for the good of the community. So I know there's a lot of concern about protection of the public and the work being done by the Planning Commission, the board, to protect the public. And that's certainly a rational and reasonable thing to be doing. But we're moving forward with publishing that ordinance in the shopper is an expensive undertaking. You don't publish a giant ordinance without it being an expensive undertaking. And if there ends up being problems later, and you have to come back and change it and publish it again, now you've got another publishing cost. So we feel it's better to get it right the first time and then publish it and then have a discussion than to have to go through this multiple times. As Joe said, when we do the analysis, and we have the benefit as a company that operates in every county in the Lower Peninsula, looking at ordinances in every county and every community and township that has their own code. And so the things that we pointed out in ours, we have a list of at least 12 things that are problematic. But we see that in every community. It's not like we expect to come in and see an ordinance that's just perfect. There is no such thing. But the things that Joe pointed out are particularly egregious, and ones that we feel borderline are exclusionary. And the one thing that, having been a planning commissioner for 14 years myself in a township, and having served on the county board for 10 years, one of the things I look at when I'm looking at legislation or when I'm looking at ordinances is consistency. And if you go through your ordinances and you compare some of the provisions that you are proposing in the solar ordinance, they're not consistent with the rest of your ordinances. You realize that you could have heavy industrial processing, chemicals, all types of things with setbacks that are far less than what you're putting on solar panels. Noise restrictions that are far less. Setbacks, screening requirements that are far less. That to us doesn't seem to be consistent. And we're starting to wonder why was solar singled out for these massive increases in size. Additionally, when you look at the screening provisions, once the initial screening is put in on the perimeter, which is required, and it's pretty extraordinary as ordinances go across the state, what would be the purpose of internal screening? It's redundant. All it does is add costs. And as Joel alluded to, when you have these giant setbacks that use more land than is necessary, they're actually forcing us to eat up additional ground. It's not necessary. We don't want to do that. The bottom line is we want to be a partner. We want to be a partner in every community we work in. This is our project. Our name is going to be on it. And we want to make sure it's a good one for us and for this community, and it's going to last for a long time. Thank you.
For your comments, Mr. Moore. Sir?
Jim Gupta, thank you, Madam Supervisor Trustees. As a rebuttal to the consumer's presentation, I'm going to go now rather than wait. No-till farming disturbs the soil to a depth of 6 to 8 inches. This has been the farming practice on this plot of property for the previous owners. PBB is just like PFAS, which I mentioned earlier. It's a forever chemical. Why should activity on this property that would cause any release of PBBs sequestered in the sub-till area be permitted to be released into the 7 Mile Creek watershed? Property has been labeled as a contaminated waste site during the bitter harvest contamination episode. If this proposed site use is to be permitted, I think a significantly large escrow account or surety bond should be required to cover the mitigation of any exposure and any associated legal action. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Gupta. Any other comments on agenda items for the board, sir?
Gene McKay, addressing the solar issues. I read the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, and I want to say that I fully support what the planning committee has developed. We have learned a valuable lesson in our broader community in the last few years. For those of you that took the time to drive out to Marshall, I think our ordinance reflects a lot of things that we've learned about solar farms, about buffer zones, about how they're designed, and I really support the work that the planning committee has done to try to make sure that we as residents are protected and that our way of life in our community remain intact. I also would like to mention that I fully understand consumers' issues. Understanding them relates to the fact that they are being forced by the federal and state government to have alternative energy. And they're in a bind because of that. They have limited places to put this, and you're in a state where solar is not always the best alternative, but maybe in this area it could be. But I look at other states like Indiana and further one south, where the placement of these panels is more aligned to like interstate highways, and they're aimed in a direction that doesn't interfere with traffic or glare. So I'm very supportive of the ordinance, while at the same time I understand the pressure that consumers is under to do more of this. My thoughts.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. McKay. Anyone else wish to address the board this evening?
Hello, Michael, former supervisor here, and yeah, I picked up a shopper today and saw help wanted building and zoning administrator, Charter Township of Bedford. Handles all building and zoning questions, issues permits, works in planning commission, public hearings, and of course, mailings of full job description and instructions for application can be found on our website. But then I also noticed on the agenda an authorization for an approval for something like this to happen. Resolved by Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford, To authorize the superintendent and or supervisor to immediately begin advertising without prior board approval for any existing staff position that is vacated through resignation, termination, or death. Did we have a time traveler in our township? Just curious. I don't think we have time travel yet. If we do, that's really cool. There's a lot of neat things out there in the world that we don't know about. But that would be time travel to make that happen, I think. Legal, but it doesn't matter. We do things kind of the way we want around here. That's the way it's been, right? As far as the solar stuff, yeah, I mean that. What a weird battle here. But I think the people have spoken, and they're right. I mean, if you've seen what's going on in Marshall, we know what's going on with consumers' energy. They have a monopoly. They control us. We have no option. And they've been guaranteed dollars from us, from the government here in the state of Michigan, and they are pressured by federal agencies that regulate them to do all kinds of craziness that really isn't going to last. It's not going to be long term. Those panels don't last. We know that. They have a short lifespan. So, yeah, it sounds like you've got residents already, and the planning commission made a decision, and you know, if the central planning center at the county says, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," I mean, that's the central planning problems that we have. Communism that I mentioned, right? The Marxist communists that we have, and all your actions and your votes will show that's who you are, if that's what you want to continue for the centralized planning system. Because we need planning. That's what we lack here. But this kind of planning is the kind of planning that we need, actually, right? The planning that protects us in our township from outsiders. So what some people actually got in office and wanted to do. But instead we have people that want to just make the decisions. So it's, we'll see how it gets there. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Hagel. Anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Agenda items? Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll close public comment. And we'll move on to item number 10 on the agenda. It's a list of all your communications that were in your packet. You should have had all those. Lots of trees died for this packet this month. It was a lot. Yeah, it's changed. It's changed. Yeah, it's a gremlin in my computer. Okay, so you have all those. And then number 11, we'll move on to reports. The first resolution at our meeting is finance resolution resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve payment of expenses totaling $57,031.45. Do I have a motion? Dingman and Hires. Okay, discussion. Any discussion on finances? I just wanted to bring up that we still have, and I just don't want it to confuse the public, but we still have listed, and it probably is just a function of, because this is how we started the year, but anything going out under the supervisor category is actually now being paid to the superintendent manager position. So I don't want anyone here who might like to believe that I'm still receiving a salary, believe that I'm receiving a salary or any benefit. So just when we are able to change that over, which may be with the new budget, let's make sure we're using the correct line item for that. Any other discussion on finances that you've looked at? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Baraka, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
7 yes. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And next we have our public health and safety reports. We'll start off with our police. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Officer Nichols. I'm with Battle Creek Police Department. I'm the North Side Float, so I'm in Bedford sometimes, but I'm not your primary
Officer,
Bedford officer.
if you don't mind, and I forgot to tell you, if you would just address the board
Oh,
for us.
sorry.
Yeah, you can use the podium if you'd like.
Okay. So I am not the normal Bedford officer. I'm Northside Float Car, so I'm in Bedford sometimes. The normal officer is not here today. So just looking at the month of June, we have our priority calls. They go from 1 to 9, priority 1 being the most severe, priority 9 being least severe. And our average response time for priority 1 calls is about 6.5 minutes. Another thing that our new chief is getting into is he wants us to be a little bit more proactive with doing business checks, like once a business is closed, so after hours business checks. We did about 31 of those last month. We responded to 21 domestic trouble calls, 18 welfare checks, and we did 27 traffic stops, and we did a total of 16 arrests within June.
All right, thank you. Any questions for her? Okay. All right, Chief. There it is. Switch right over.
Well, it's the same thing. We're running a lot of medicals. We're at 580 runs so far this year at this point. So by the end of the year, we figure we'll be over the 1,000 mark again. Everything is going pretty good. The 2 qualified people are training for this coming session when they have to go do their test and stuff to get it qualified, certified in the fireman. Outside that, we're just plugging right along and hope keeping things going and stuff in there. So nothing else really seriously needed to be addressed. So any questions?
With all the dryness we've had, you're doing okay with that?
Yeah.
Brush fire. Okay.
Yeah, we have no problems with that.
All right. All right, thank you, Chief. All right. Okay, and then moving on to our other reports, superintendent report.
Sure. Last month we were working with the Parks Department to gear up for the movie in the park night. We discovered that there was lights out, so what we did was we worked with the gentleman that worked out there, Mike and Jason, along with J&L Electric to get the lights reinstalled and upgraded some of the lighting fixtures and hopeful of not only making a successful movie night, but also to deter some of the negative activity that happens at that park during the nighttime hours by lighting it up. Also at the park, we had to do some other maintenance issues regarding the septic system out there, which was overflowing. We're going to be on more of a 6 months maintenance with Flash. Sanitation. Thank you, Flash Sanitation, to monitor more closely what's going out at the park so we don't experience the overflow. Fire Chief and I have been working together to, and actually submitted a grant for fire equipment, turnout gear and pants to the tune of $7,732.81 to the state of Michigan Treasury. We submitted a grant mid-June, well actually June 26th. Deadline for the submission of the grant was July 10th, so we're well in advance of that date. We haven't heard anything besides the submission was received, and we're hoping that we are going to be awarded the grant soon. As mentioned previously, the assessor's position, along with the building and zoning positions, are posted on Tuesday next week. We have a conversation scheduled with a potential candidate for the assessing position. Hopefully things go well, and we have, as the supervisor mentioned earlier, advertised far and wide to try to get someone to fill the assessor's position as soon as possible, because Ms. Fogel is leaving shortly. Last 2 things on my agenda to talk about tonight are I have been contacted by the city of Battle Creek. They want to come to our August meeting to present on the Calhoun County Transit Authority. He says that there's a lot of misinformation out there She wants to know if she could come, do a short presentation, stay after the meeting, and do the question and answer period, so people could, get their questions answered. She's also said that she has met with smaller groups. She mentioned coffee and conversation. She's willing to come to a group like that in an informal setting, to do the same kind of presentation. She also mentioned just to be, to you guys that she is pregnant and she may not be able to show up, but there's a guy she's working with, Mr. McFadden, who, she normally does these presentations with and is more than willing to come. Last but not least, been contacted and been in contact with American Legal Publishing, about the opportunity to codify our ordinances. He's going to do a presentation sometime in September. Also same kind of format where he will do a presentation for 10-15 minutes. And then stay around for question and answers. He says he has a lot of flexibility, so he could actually do a Zoom meeting in, and depending on the availability or the scheduling, if it fits our schedule or not. So those are the things I wanted to report on tonight, and I'll be here after the meeting.
Thank you, Dennis. Next is the building official, Matthias.
Good evening, everyone. The building permits are still fairly slow this year compared to, I've talked to, some of the inspectors that work in other municipalities, and they're relating the same thing. I think it's because of inflation possibly, but, we're seeing some renovations, a lot of pole barns, things like that, roads, general maintenance, but overall it's a little slower and not many homes coming up now. But hopefully they keep it up. We want to see people fix their properties and improve them, so we want to see those permits go in.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And Jason Ugetti is not here tonight. It's my understanding he's been sick for the last 2 days. He has had a conversation with Dennis and with me that his expectation is, his house is selling. His expectation is that he will be leaving his position at some point. We don't have an exact date on that yet, but it is forthcoming. And so we have been already engaging and knowing that we need to advertise this. We do not want to be in the same situation that we were back in January when our previous building and zoning administrator left abruptly. And I think we basically waited for approval from the board and didn't have a special meeting to approve that. So we went ahead, advertised that. It was published today in the Shopper, and so hopefully we'll start having some ability to start interviewing for that position, and then maybe have some overlap with Mr. Ugetti, so that that individual coming on that we hire is able to get some training and mentorship from him prior to his departure. I do not have a report from Mr. Savio. I know he's been busy with lawn grass across the township, and talking to individuals about that. Joyce Fundel is not here tonight, as we've said. She expects to retire ASAP as soon as we can get somebody on board, and she would like to help train that person as well. That individual should have possession of the tax rolls for 2024. So ideally, we really would like to have that person in and be mentored by Joyce before she leaves. Okay, and then next we have Planning Commission Chair Mike Stein. Mike?
Thank you, Supervisor Jones. Not a ton of actionable things going on right now in the PC. We do have several acknowledgements of receipt on the master plan. City of Springfield, City of Battle Creek, Southwest Michigan Planning Council, and I believe today I just saw Penfield acknowledge that they had it. Acknowledgement does not mean that they'll comment on it. I believe that Rockdale is kind of waiting until the end of that 63-day period to consolidate the comments that we do have on that for us, so we can all take a look at that as one collective group of comments rather than 1 year and 1 year and so on and so forth. The other item that we have been in discussion, I mentioned it last time, about training session between both the board and the planning commission. We now are thinking that we might also possibly be able to incorporate the ZBA on that as well. We are gonna shortly here, probably within the next week, have several dates to choose from, I guess, in different times, so we can try and, I guess, poll everyone to see what the best turnout will be for us. Obviously, we're only gonna do one training as part of the contract with the master plan, so we wanna try and get as many people to attend as we can, obviously, that want to attend, as far as that goes. And then, obviously, we heard a little bit of talk tonight about ordinances and such. We are getting ready to, once we're through the review period, go through the ordinances. I and the planning commission would like to thank the board, for their commitment financially, to have us, continue to work with the McKenna Group and, really go through these ordinances. It will be a long, tedious process, which I'm learning about every day. It's something new that you read 10 times and everything else. So I just want to convey our thanks for the commitment from the board to these. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything about the roads committee?
Yes, actually we are going to try and have a meeting next week. I made contact with everybody and we're just going to find out, actually start that process tomorrow and see if we can't have a meeting soon and organize and go from there.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
You want to do some more money?
and then, Danielle Zoller is not able to be here tonight from Parks and Recreation. She did send a report this afternoon. I'll just summarize it, that, June 16th, they had movies in the park at Skeet Spearman from 7 to 10. The lighting had been repaired by then. It was functioning well. We have had compliments on that. And I'll leave her report so we can get that up on the website as well with the packet. But she thanks the chief who came by with the brush truck for a little bit to entertain the kids that were there. The movie unfortunately has to start late because of the time of year it is, so not a whole lot of families stayed for the entire movie. It ended somewhere around 10 o'clock. And again, as Superintendent McKinley mentioned, the holding tanks there have to be regularly pumped. We do have some problems with leaks in the toilets and sinks, and so that continuous flow also fills those tanks up quicker. So we really probably need to look at a plumber going out and taking a look at those leaking fixtures, so that we're not necessarily having to pump quite so frequently. Bedford Days Fall Festival will be September 30th. Watch for that. There's lots of good things that are going to happen with this second annual. We did submit the DNR Sparks grants for Skeets, Algonquin, and Brookside, as was announced last month. And now we're starting to work with DNR Fisheries Habitat Grant. That grant is due to November, and it requires a 10% match and to look at the sort of the erosion that's happening in Skeets and Brookside. The tables that were ordered and trash cans for Skeets have been, the pet waste station has been delivered. We're waiting on the tables and the trash receptacles. That she thanks everyone, our workers, for spreading the mulch in Skeets and Algonquin, and the planters. Flowers were donated by Brookside Gardens in Urbandale. We thank them also for that. They're also, the committee is working on vehicle control barriers at certain of our parks that's in progress right now. So that's a busy committee, and we appreciate all of their volunteer efforts to make our Bedford parks much better and more beautiful. And then last we have, from reports, we have legislative and intergovernmental relations. I don't see Representative Hansma here. Commissioner Frisbee?
We're only going to have one meeting in July, and that's next Thursday. These are the highlights of our last meeting. We did some additional authorizations for senior millage, and that is around, minor home repair, home heating, and general, in ramps. So it'll have more money to spend in the senior village, to help seniors that qualify to have help in those areas. We also redid our authorization for DCAS, which you're a part of, and regularly attend, which is good. And that is federal funding for road projects in those thoroughfares, so Bedford's used a lot of that money in the last several years, and happy about that. The last thing I would say about the agenda was we approved a policy regarding employee safety relating to disease control and protective safety measures. So it's a very broad policy. It's not very defined down to the level. It depends on what's going on and what and when and what the disease is. But what I think I mentioned this last one, my OSHA does a pre-announcement every year of what they're going to focus on, and that is one of those things that they're going to focus on. So I encourage you to take a look at that, have a policy in place that's going to deal with all of your employees, including firefighters, so that you have the ability to, by policy, demonstrate to my OSHA that you have a plan and can take care of that. I would keep it as broad as possible and give you the flexibility to do what you feel is best, as well as if it meets the standards that are expected for
Related to contagious disease.
Yeah. Yeah.
So employee safety, disease control.
Yeah. And I can get you that policy if you want. Last thing is, I wanted to talk again about the funding for roads at the state level. Michigan began the year with a $9 billion surplus. And we went on a spending spree at the state legislature a few weeks ago. We passed all of that, and guess what did not get funded? Roads. So we've had some bridges funded in Calhoun County in the bridge program, which is good. Lieutenant Governor's going to be at Township tomorrow to show off one of the bridges on 127. It's an emergency route for I-69 being going to be replaced, and that's good. But again, 83 counties are waiting for assistance for decaying roads, since especially that the funding from Act 51 is very stagnant while our costs continue to grow. It's really something the government should focus on. The infrastructure needs replaced. And it'd be nice to have that additional funding to get ahead, catch up in some cases for us in the primary system. You guys are in great shape with the local roads. Our primary system, we just had one, the first mile of 48 in the last few days. So that's good. That was one of those roads that everybody wanted to see done that time. So, but I would encourage you to reach out to Representative Cosman, Senator Albert, and others to say, we're still waiting for appropriations since you had $9 billion. The track that we're on now at the state is that they will be probably spent through that $9 billion, and in the next year and a half or so, we need to create some new programs. If they're going to continue to fund them, they'll need to do a tax raise, tax increase. So that's bad fiscal management and public policy. So I would encourage you to contact Jim Osmond and Thomas Albert, Representative and Senator, and concerns. Any questions for me?
Are either of them on the appropriations committee?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any questions? No. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on then to unfinished business. Mike Steib did mention already about the master plan. We are in the process. The 63-day review period is underway. It has been disseminated to area municipalities. And so I think, as you said, we'll get that summarized again by the Planning Commission. Additional duties is still kind of left here from last month. and maybe even the prior month, we were exploring non-statutory duties of our deputies in the township. We have two, a deputy clerk and a deputy treasurer. We had some board discussion about it. We do have a list from the clerk's office, and I think we had a list, Erica, from, there were no non-statutory is what you're saying.
No non-statutory.
Okay. So I guess, if any other board discussion, the main reason for this, discussion was we're going to be, in fact, I believe Dennis sent out today, we need to have, for the planning already, it's scary, but planning for the 2024 budget, by statute, we need to have from the department heads by August 1st, their requested budgets. And then Dennis, in collaboration with me, will put together a budget, a proposed budget to go to the board, hopefully by September 1st, just a draft, for discussion. So again, knowing specifically what our needs are, will help us. What do we still have gaps with in these offices that a lot of people are stepping up to the plate to do, that need to be done, and do we still have gaps? Do we need a part-time person? Do we need, somebody who's, picking up things before board meetings and making sure things get done? I know a lot of it ends up falling onto the clerk and the clerk's deputy, so that they are sometimes very overwhelmed, in that office. So, as you're looking through and realizing what your duties of your deputies are and what the needs overall of the township are to run an efficient office, I would just suggest, look at that realistically, think about what you need to run your department smoothly. And again, it's not just your department, because we are a bare bones operation. So many times we're doing two roles at once, right? You're doing cemetery, and you're doing parks, and you're doing things that are way beyond just elections and notarizing and all of the financial stuff, because it needs to be done for the quality of life for the people in Bedford. So I've said this before, we could just do what we have to do by statute, and that is we run elections, we do assessing, and we pay taxes, right? That's all by law we have to do. I don't think any of you would be very happy with us as a township if that's what we did. We want to try to help with the quality of life in this township. We want to help people want to be in Bedford and be a part of Bedford. Okay, next on the agenda, under unfinished business, we have the solar ordinance amendment that is here for the first read-in. And you have that in your packet. I will not read in the entire thing. You had the narrative version that was sent over to the county by the Planning Commission. You also have the communication from the county, from Jennifer Bamba, the Office of Community Development Director, as to the recommendations of the County Planning Commission. And then you also have the solar energy system ordinance in ordinance format, which would be, and it is lengthy, it would be what is published in the shopper. Okay? Have you all had a chance to look through? Okay. Mike, do you want to?
I actually did look through it, just so we know. It's a pretty big packet, and these two thick ones, because I would like to compare them for the changes.
Mike, do you want to speak to what the Planning Commission did and give just kind of a summary?
So yes, there were lots of extensive changes. I'll just start by just giving the general summary of the course of events that led us to, I guess, where we are at this particular point. The township initially adopted a version of the solar ordinance from what we can tell, March 2019. we had some residents express some concerns, over the solar ordinance, specifically at the board meeting in March of 2022. In October of 2022, we had some residents express some concerns, over the solar ordinance, specifically at the board meeting in March of 2022. In October of 2022, the board sent a directive to the planning commission to review the solar ordinance. Over the next 6 months, the PC did extensive research, deliberations, and revised several drafts of the current proposed revision of the solar ordinance, and that public hearing for that was held in May of this year. PC focused on updating definitions, setbacks, adding a landscape buffer requirement, adding an intent and purpose section, and increasing the definitions section to improve clarity. The board will see the proposed solar ordinance is more detailed and written in a way that I think is easier for residents to understand, while reflecting the goals, objectives outlined in the township master plan, specifically that preserve the current rural, residential, and agricultural characteristics of the township, protecting our natural resources, and preserving the rights of property owners. Just a few, I guess, bullet points as far as comparison. Sounds like Eric kind of wanted to get into that. I won't go through all of them because it's extensive. But essentially, we've heard about setbacks. In the original ordinance, it was, the word was to the greatest extent possible, not specific in any way. Obviously, that's concerning to residents, and it's concerning, even an applicant, what is the expectation? So lots of things like that. There was not, again, the definition section, I believe had 5 definitions in it before, it has 23 now, so a significant, clarity, I guess. And I will say, obviously, March of 2019 doesn't seem like that long time ago, but I mean, the world has changed a lot, right? And you heard from residents earlier, solar's changed, what we know, what we don't know, what works, what doesn't work. So the planning commission really tried to just take those kind of things into account, as far as that goes. We heard referenced earlier to MSU extension, as far as, standards and stuff. The PC did have access to that. We did review that. Some of those things that are referenced in there went into our decision-making process. I will say, as far as the comments that we received back from the county, and especially, in reference to that, I guess what we're calling the standard that, we're kind of judging by, suggested standards within the guidebook is what that is. Suggested guidebook. There is no set industry standards, it's really what the township would want, or the residents want. But beyond that, again, we have a significant decommissioning process now. What that looks like, specifically, costs and bonds and things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions, before this? So what we're looking to do tonight would be to take a vote on authorizing the publication in the Battle Creek Shopper, so that this would, set us up for adoption, correct, Seth, at our August meeting. It has to be published for, I believe, 30.
Specific, just if we can get it published in those ordinance submissions.
Before the next board, okay. So we would do that, if we, vote to approve, if I have a motion to approve that tonight, it would be in the Shopper, publication in the Shopper next Thursday, a week from today. So do I have a motion to move forward with this, and then we can discuss motion? Beamish, second? Okay. Dingman, okay, and then further discussion about, concerns, yes?
So, sitting through this process both times, we did put the planning commission on hold, a lot of research and listen to residents. I understand that consumers might have some concerns with this, but we're not looking to exclude them, we're simply looking to keep Bedford. Frankly, no, I don't care what the county says. A lot of times, both parties aren't happy. So in this case, if a party has to be disappointed, I'd rather it be the non-resident company than the residents. I think the residents are happy with this plan. If consumers isn't happy, then that's just how life is. If they're welcome to do business in the township, but within the confines and parameters of what Bedford looks like.
Okay. Anything? So as I read through it and then listened to members of the planning commission, I felt like they looked at in depth at what's happening now, as well as what's going to, the future landscape looks like, and then how does it best protect and serve our residents. And as they went through the process, every one of them had the same questions that they asked themselves. Those same questions that we want to know. What will make it better for Bedford? So what does it look like in 3.5 or 10 years, 5 years down the road? But by having a progressive mindset, they've been able to create a distinctive plan for Bedford, for the residents, to protect Bedford and to protect the residents. So I'm happy that we have allowed solar. I think that was a great move in 2019, and I stand behind it now as well. I would have to concur with what you're saying. I think the planning commission, from how it looks, did a lot of work, took a lot of feedback on this from all interested parties, from corporate entities and rural homeowners who are very concerned about Bedford remaining rural and Bedford remaining beautiful, protecting groundwater, being aware of PBB. And I do believe that some of this, at least, was modeled after other township solar ordinances. So I don't think, and to my knowledge, those have not been found exclusionary. It's not the intent of this board to exclude anyone. It is, as Joyce said, the intent to protect and preserve the land of the township, which we are called to do. We took an oath to do that as stewards of the township. So I commend our planning commission for all the work that they did on this. I knew it was a lot.
Yeah, the PC did an amazing job in their work on this and their due diligence on that. Do we want to have them, though, take a look at what the county's done? I'm not trying to suggest that they adopt it, but do we have them look at it? I mean, that would be normal best practice, right?
The county, Consumers has had the time, as any interested party, during.
Yeah, they don't direct us.
Correct, and frankly, they were invited as any interested party for all of the planning commission meetings during which this was on the agenda, free to speak, free to provide documentation. That's been done. To my knowledge, they've provided Chairman Steib with documentation that's been reviewed and considered. And we then, the planning commission, once they felt that they had their best product and consulting legally, did what they were supposed to do, which was to send it over to the county. The county can give us their recommendations. We don't have to accept what the county has said.
I'm not suggesting
yeah.
they accept it. I'm just wondering if the PC should look at it, consider it. I mean, timing-wise, this just came back from the county June 27th, so 2 weeks ago. So I'm guessing it didn't go in front of the PC after it came back. This was my only question.
I think the PC did enough research. The issue that I have is if consumers wanted to provide input, they've had ample opportunity.
Well, this isn't
They,
consumers, this is
no,
Cook County, right?
this is from the county,
Right, yeah.
but they could have made it known during public comment if they wanted anything included while they were in the research process. They also did commit to having something for the residents to explain what the
Yeah,
intent was.
I'm not arguing for the county's
No.
stuff, I'm just making sure.
What
that
I'm
the
saying
PC has a chance
is
to
the
review.
ordinance that they have adopted is not specific to consumers. However, if they wanted to provide input, they could have. They've had all the opportunity to do it. And the PC has done enough research, and I feel that I'm confident in what they've given us. The only issue that we do have, which I believe is, I don't have to find it. Section 4D3, on legally whether we can exclude them from PA 116. That would be the only issue that I would have.
So I know township ordinances do include this provision as it's written, okay? If you're asking me what my opinion is, when I look at state guidance, it's a policy, okay, not law, but what Michigan Department of Agricultural and Rural Development says. They took the position, MDOT has determined that the placement of structures for commercial solar energy generation on property enrolled in PA 116 is consistent with farming operations. And this language seems to say the exact opposite. So what MDOT is saying is we take the position that solar can go on farmland that's in PA 116, and our ordinance says no solar shall be in farmland that's in PA 116. The general recommendation from the firm, I mean, if we have state guidance on the issue, I'm not gonna say to go against it.
So would you, and that's a relatively recent, passage from?
Yeah, I don't know if their policy's dated, but yeah, it's a directive from MDARD.
Okay, so, so in that regard, then that portion could be considered exclusionary if we kept that in. No.
Tough question to answer. Do I think it's exclusionary? No, but I don't recommend that we keep that provision there.
Is the public that you're talking about considering a solar farm as also a farm, even though it's not cattle or edible or whatever, it's a farm?
Yes, so they get certain tax deductions, a certain percentage, I think it's 51% has to be considered agricultural. So it's including solar and
So they could get tax deductions if they're 51% or more on the land. Okay, and then.
don't take my word for that, but basically what you're saying is MDOT said that solar activity can be included.
Right.
In PA 116.
That's what I think the state's
Yeah,
position. Yeah, and like the big thing with PA 116 is that there's tax benefits when you have farmland in PA 116. But if they're gonna have like solar farms on PA 116, there's certain conditions that they do have to agree with. I do believe one of them is that they don't qualify for other tax benefits. Okay, and I know with solar projects that a lot of them do get federal tax credits, and I don't think there's state tax credits right now unless you're in a distressed community, and Bedford's not one of those. But beyond that, there's state conditions that they're still gonna have to comply with if they put solar, like a commercial solar farm on property that's PA 116.
If they put it up is on the clinic benefits of PA 116, because they can put it up on farmland, non-farmland, if they want benefits, and they've got to follow the rules.
Correct. Correct. So what we could do is, because this hasn't been submitted for ordinance submission, you can delete paragraph 3 if that's the board's pleasure. I mean, I'll just fix the numbering, and then it would get set for, but once it's set, it's set. And then if there's a change afterwards, we have to kind of.
And I just want to clarify that solar isn't being singled out for restrictions. We made it very clear that the PC is working on the master plan. The second phase of that master plan is going through the zoning ordinance. So we have land use requirements that we're looking at for solar regarding this parcel, and the same will happen with the zoning ordinance. But I would motion to strike that personally.
So we have a motion to, strike number 3, under.
Section 4D3.
4D3. And that's by, Greenwood and supported by Beamish. Any other discussion on that? Okay, so just for the striking of that item, do you wanna do roll call on that?
Trustee Beamish?
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood?
Yes.
Trustee Dingman?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Clerk Farrell? Yes. Treasurer Miller? I can't even find it.
It's,
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna work out. Yeah, for sure, strike it.
yes,
Okay. Trustee Hires?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
okay. So, and again, I think, Stacy alluded to this, the township is working on and has been working, the PC, has done yeoman's work on this, to develop a good solar, commercial solar ordinance. And it is not for one specific party, it's not for one specific corporate entity, it's not for any certain individuals, it's for the township. It's focused on the township. And so this is not about a consumer's project in our minds, this is about what is best for Bedford. I think this, and to me it looks like a very good solar ordinance, and I will be supporting I would support a motion now for, authorizing publication in the Battle Creek Shopper next week with the renumbering after striking the Public Act 116 provision. Okay, Barry.
Support.
And Beamish and Dingman. Any further discussion? To authorize publication in the Shopper for next week, which puts us on the path for adoption in August.
I just want to remind the board that when this got sent back to the PC, we had some deadlines that we didn't meet because of
There's a lot.
quotas. So the board, extended grace to work the process effectively, and completely thoroughly. So that's why I don't think it's necessary to send back. The work's already been done.
The work has been definitely done, so, okay. Any other discussion, comments before we vote? Seeing none, Clerk Farrell?
Trustee Hires?
Yes.
Trustee Beamish?
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood?
Yes.
Trustee Dingman?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Clerk Farrell? Yes. Treasurer Miller?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And again, I want to remind folks that those, the packet is up on our website, so if you'd like to look at the Calhoun County comments from their planning commission as well as the solar ordinance in its entirety, they are there. All right, and next on our agenda, item 13, we're under petitions and new business now. First resolution is 7/13/23/34, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the rental ordinance text amendment as read in at the June 8th, 2023 meeting and published in the Battle Creek Shopper on June 15th, 2023. The full rental ordinance was sent out in your packet. We've looked at it a number of months now, and it's back. All right. Again, the changes summarized in red fall under the section 1 amendment to section 5 of that relates to the Township and Building and Zoning Administrator at the time of registration and provide the Township updated information upon any change. So just again, trying to keep track of our rental owners. There's another change in section 2, amendment to the section 8 within there. The code compliance officer or his or her designee may thereafter inspect a rental dwelling unit upon the township receiving a complaint upon a change in township of the rental dwelling unit or as otherwise established by law. And then, as we mentioned last time, this has been changed to a municipal civil infraction, punishable by a fine of up to, not to exceed $400. And I think then, lastly, the section 4, amendment to section 12, within that, this subsection does not apply until the owner has had a reasonable time after being sent mail notice of violations to make an application for a temporary certificate in the township. Okay, related to the certificates, correct? You've been working on this. Okay, any other, well, I guess first we should have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Greenwood and B&H. Okay, any discussion on this text amendment to the rental ordinance? Everybody happy with it?
I'm gonna be a little bit not to do with the law enforcement stuff, up to date on that. Can you go to jail for a municipal civil infraction?
No.
Okay.
It's just, it's fine. It was changed from a misdemeanor to 90 days, so it's 5 days.
Imprisonment. You said the changes are in red, but it says imprisonment for more than 90 days. Do I have the wrong one?
No, that should be good.
Second page, paragraph 2, a person, starts with a person, last 2 sentences, last few words.
Section 91. Section 91.
Page 2, second paragraph.
That's what you want.
I don't think she's got the correct.
Is that the old one?
I think you've got the old one.
That's all one before we took it.
I
Yeah.
don't have any.
It was in the packet.
I got another
On the
one.
website.
I got another one. There was 2 in the packet.
No, there's only one in the packet. That's the old one. The one that we're looking at actually doesn't have page numbers on the bottom of it.
Yeah, so the penalty provisions have been changed from misdemeanor to a municipal civil infraction.
Okay, so the
Which
third
is
paragraph.
simply is not.
Imprisonment, okay, so this one is the 3rd paragraph, and this also says.
And that's from the old version.
2 old versions?
I don't see that in mine.
Did you get one from the website?
The thing that you sent me, the big one, I can't open those.
If you right click and download and
This is
save
the,
it.
this is the correct version, this is the updated version. So it removed. Section 3, civil infraction.
Oh, I haven't seen anyone at all, I moved it to. Jump notes.
Okay, did we, are we voting? Are you ready to vote?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Ready? Yes. Supervisor Jones, yes. Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
I'm gonna say, I can either abstain or say no, because I didn't. What's the best way to do that?
It was read in last month.
It was read in?
Yes, we did a read-in last month, but totally.
You wouldn't be able to abstain. It's really rare that you can abstain as a board member.
Just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Myers.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dignan.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried. Thank you. So we'll make sure we get that added to our ordinances. That actual ordinance number needs to be added to, or no, just the adopted date and effective date. Okay, next is resolution 7/13/2335. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to award a construction contract for the River Road Water Project funded through the State of Michigan's DWSRF program to the low bidder for this project. The full resolution template was in your packet. We did not have the complete bid tabulations out, which is why that resolution looks a little generic, but I will read the resolution now in its entirety, and then I'll accept a motion and support on that. Excuse me. Whereas the Charter Township of Bedford wishes to construct improvements to its existing water treatment and distribution system, and whereas the water system improvements project formally adopted on June 30th, 2022, will be funded through the State of Michigan's Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF program, and whereas the Charter Township of Bedford has sought and received construction bids for the proposed improvements and has received a low bid in the amount of $3,265,897.39 from Hoffman Brothers Incorporated, and whereas the Township's Civil Engineers Incorporated, CEI, has recommended awarding the contract to the low bidder, now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township of Bedford tentatively awards the contract for construction of the proposed water system improvements project to Hoffman Brothers Incorporated, contingent upon the successful financial arrangements with the DWSRF. Okay, do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Greenwood and Dingman. Okay, discussion. I will say in your packet you have a tab, or it should be right near this, you have the formal notice of award recommendation from CEI. The River Road Water Main Project was recently bid, and Civil Engineers has a recommendation for the board. The following provides background for this recommendation. On May 24th, 2023, an advertisement for bids was released, and 5 potential bidders obtained bid documents. On June 30th, 2023, 4 bids were opened, and Hoffman Brothers Incorporated was read low. Bids ranged from $3,265,897.39 to $4,208,759. CEI reviewed all the bids for accuracy and prepared a bid tabulation, which you have in your packet. It is therefore CEI's considered opinion the Bedford Township Board should send a notice of award to Hoffman Brothers Incorporated. The contract documents require a performance bond that guarantees their work for 1 year after the project is ready for final payment. If you have questions, please contact us. Okay, and then you have the spreadsheet, which is the bid tabulation, which goes into great detail. They made sure that everything was compared, all of the line items. There were, I believe, lots of them, 37, 38 of those, so we can see a good comparison. The low bidder was Hoffman Brothers. Coming in next was Mead Brothers, then Hunter Pro, and then Volkema was the high bidder. Okay, so any other discussion about the recommendation and the resolution that we're going to authorize, or hopefully. Questions?
Do we have a projected construction cost in the plan?
Yeah, I mean, this would be, so we, they had, when they went and did the, sent the documents and the request with our application for River Road, the projected cost was really pretty close to this. It was 3.2 million. And then we have like 960,000 engineering, legal, financing, all of that. Then there's contingency costs. I have that document. That was on that first PowerPoint that we had last summer. So it's pretty close to, Hoffman Brothers were actually pretty close to what was projected. I think the one that shocked us was the high one, because it was like almost $1 million more. That's where we are with that. It was comparing apples to apples, very precise in terms of the matrix that they provided and their analysis. Okay, any other questions, discussions? This is, I want to make sure that everyone knows, this is worded as a tentative award. We don't do any of this, finalizing any of this until we see the money from the state, and that everything's been I's dotted, T's crossed, and that the money from the DWSRF is here, coming for this. Okay? Other questions? Okay, are we ready to vote?
This is specifically for the first phase.
This is River Road, first phase, yes. Okay. Ready? Yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dignan.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones. Yes. Clerk Brockman, yes. 7 yes, motion carries. Okay, thank you. And we did get an extension on this. This was to be into Eagle by today. But we worked out, negotiated so that this can be sent in late tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, and I will make sure that that is done. Okay, next on the agenda is the, resolution, 7/13/2336, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to adopt a monthly superintendent action plan for a 3-month trial period to be addressed at monthly board meetings and communicated through the supervisor and superintendent. And there was a template, Trustee Greenwood has worked extensively on this, template in your packet. But first, can I have a motion to, well, let me read the formal resolution. If we adopt it and it becomes, our actual kind of policy. Whereas the Bedford Charter Township appointed a township superintendent pursuant to MCL 4210, and whereas attached here too is the superintendent action plan that is designed to set forth short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals and objectives for the office of the township superintendent, and whereas the attached plan may be revised by the township board as goals and objectives are completed and as new goals and objectives are identified, now therefore be it resolved as follows: the Bedford Charter Township adopts the attached plan, identifying goals and objectives for the office of township superintendent, which may be revised based on township goals and objectives and are completed, and new goals and objectives are identified. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve? Dingman and Beamish. Okay, any discussion? Stacey, do you want to explain anything with this?
Sure, so this is a 3-month trial period. We're obviously moving over from supervisor to superintendent. We're in the middle of projects. We have things that are unique to Bedford. And so the goal is to provide directives. So I broke it down based on immediate action plan items. So those are things that have current deadlines that we're working on. And then short-term action plans and long-term, as well as monthly maintenance measures. And then this can be amended after each board meeting and then would be distributed over to the superintendent. And then he would be able to provide feedback the following month, and that way the public and the board are getting open communication on what's being done in the township, and everyone is aware of what projects we currently have going.
Okay. Questions, discussion?
I think it's nice to have a list, and if we wanted something done right away, you said wait till the board meeting, but like we can do it a little faster than that, so I'm not so sure.
So, what I mean by that is if we approve a resolution, say at this month's board meeting that has a deadline before the next month's board meeting, then we would add that to the immediate action plan item, and he would report back, so we know where he's at with that. So it's a fluid document, it's not set in stone, it would change each month.
Okay, well, so immediate would be like 30 days or less?
Yes, what we currently have going, I would consider that like 1 to 3 months.
Well,
and then short term are just strategic plans that, goals that we have toward our long-term plan. So for example, when you and I were talking about codifying the ordinances, part of the short-term plans would be going through those and splitting those so we know it's gonna go to the PC. So in order to have long-term measures, you have to have short-term action items as well. So we wanna make sure that we're not just doing things in real time, like just doing now that we're also strategically planning for the future when we have board turnover.
The list is nice to have because of, I mean, this is 5 pages, there's a lot here. And for somebody to try to remember all that, but I mean, I'd hate to put an actual time frame on it if.
Like I said, it's fluid. I mean, Mr. McKinley, do you want to give your input? You just see that.
Oh, I have, and you know, to be honest with you, I commented back to Trustee Greenwood, I thought it was a little overwhelming the first time I read it. However, you know, after I read it a couple to 3 times, I got a lot more comfortable with it, and I think that's, as she's explained, it's a fluid document. I can work with it, I'm looking forward to it.
Is he gonna be like, if there's employee evaluations, is this part of the evaluation?
Well, and that's the thing too, is we have to have something on record to show, he is an employee of the township. And so this could be added to his employee file, what he's been currently working on. So like I said, when we have board turnover, they need to know what's been going on with the superintendent position and the reasoning behind it. So it's a paper trail.
Any other questions? Discussion? And it can be added to, I love the way it doesn't have to wait for a board meeting. Is that right?
I got another question. In the contract, in his contract, did we specify, is his duties just whatever we assign him at any time with the same thing?
No, well, the problem with the contract is the contract basically states that he's taking over the statutory duties of the supervisor, but that's extremely vague. That doesn't tell you what we're currently working on and what the supervisor is currently doing. Like, for example, the water project. We need something we need to provide directive as a board to the superintendent in order to ease that transition, and we haven't done that yet. So I feel like that's on the board to do that, address that gap measure, and have something in place.
And these are all specifically supervisor duties?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Supervisor duties end up being very unique to townships because of different projects that townships take on, different needs of the community. So yeah, that's why a document like this really kind of helps us stay focused. You know, sometimes we lose track, right, in terms of, oh, we've got this website we got to get on, and you know, be making sure we're checking the portal frequently because we don't get automatic emails about it. So it's up to us to make sure we're going in there at least once a week, preferably twice a week, to see what they need from us to keep moving the project forward. And it's easy to forget about that when you're in the middle of dealing with the state in all the forms that they need for the, you know, both of these water projects that we are juggling right now. And those are just two of the things. There's a lot of good things happening in Bedford, but a lot to keep in front of us. So I think maybe besides the whiteboard that we keep adding to, a document like this, again, with it being fluid, kind of helps us kind of stay focused and on track. And I think that would be the goal, not to overwhelm anyone, even though it's overwhelming, but to provide that kind of structure, that framework that we need. Okay, anything else?
I was just concerned about, because it is 5 pages and they're quite detailed. But this isn't easy stuff, and I didn't want this to work against him in the long run. If he checked off 4.99 or 99.9% of stuff is left one done, and then oh, look what he didn't do.
No,
it's
just, I think this is more a supportive measure, to know, explain to Mr. McKinley what we currently have going and provide directives. It's not like, oh, you have to cross this off and then we're going to evaluate you. That's why it's a 3-month trial period. We can tweak it as necessary. It's just, there's a learning curve and we need to address it.
I just wanted to be sure how this was going to be used in the long term.
Yeah, so it's just to be reported back at the next monthly meeting, and it can be tweaked as necessary. So it's not
along the way, or just
along the way. Along the way, you know, no vested interest in keeping it the way it is. If there's something that you guys find that works better and that Mr. McKinley finds works better, we can tweak this. Any way you want to do it.
Oh, here,
3 months trial.
just with you.
We go.
Ready to vote? Okay. Okay. All right, all the questions?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Ready? Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried. Okay, thank you. On to, resolution 07-13-2337, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to accept the 2022 audit report and draft financial statements prepared by Siegfried Crandall. And you have the complete report in your packet. You also should have a hard copy along with the cover letter that was received by Siegfried Crandall. Do I have a motion to accept?
Move.
Dingman,
Support.
Dingman and Green. Okay, and discussion. Again, we're dealing with the internal controls again. We you know, started, a little while back with our financial advisors. I think what we'll see in 2024 will be, or our review for 2023 is going to be much better. We did have a, just like last year when I was brand new to this position, we had a request for improvement of deficiencies from the, and a corrective action plan dated June 23rd from the Department of Treasury. That is in your packet as well. It is very similar to the one from last year, and we needed to respond within 30 days, which we have. You have that in your packet. A letter dated July 3rd to Mr. Vaughn at the State Department of Treasury. We go through and discuss what we are putting into place. The 2 comments related to budgets and what we have done in terms of hiring municipal assistant and financial assistance with this. Bank reconciliations, we have individuals that are working with the treasurer and the clerk on improving that process so that they are done in a timely manner. Again, the audit adjustments and preparation of financial statements, we're gonna continue to review those auditor recommendations that are in the packet, corrections and internal procedures. And we're looking to increase staffing levels and or obtain temporary assistance, which we have done earlier in the fiscal year in order to be able to perform more timely analysis. I'm already seeing that there has been some benefit to that. When you look at your financial revenue and expenditure report, I think most of that is all up to date so that we can be assured that the things that are at 50% are really at 50%. We're not missing anything. So again, that's always been a concern. You know, it's hard to make adjustments or decisions if everything is not in there in a timely manner. And again, it's been hard just because there's so much that goes on in these offices. So, all right, so we've had a motion and a second, Damon and Greenwood. Any other discussion?
I got one thing, if the state wants to provide a bank reconciliation for the last month, do they don't have that, I know they don't.
I haven't gotten word back on that. This was the letter to Carrie Vaughn was worked on by Heather, who you and Joyce worked with, Mayor Costerson. I think she has access to your reconciliations remotely. So we'll watch for if she didn't send them because she submitted it to the website. But I mean, we can check on that. Doesn't have to have anything to do with whether we're accepting the Siegfried Crandall audit report. All right. Ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Beamish?
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood?
Yes.
Trustee Dignan?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Clerk Baraco? Yes. Treasurer Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Hires?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Next is, Resolution 713-2338, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to authorize the superintendent to immediately begin advertising without prior board approval for any existing staff position that is vacated through resignation, termination, or death. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
And hires? All right, any discussion? Discussion on this? Okay, again, just, for context, we do not want to have more special meetings to authorize something that we know we need to go forward with. This is gonna be a position that we have to fill. We know the writing's on the wall in terms of, this particular employee. We've had this happen in the past. It's not a very efficient way for a township to run if we are waiting for the next month, nor do we like to be having a lot of extra special meetings in order to address a simple issue like this. And it's an existing, it is a board vote to hire. This is just setting the process in place so that we can do that hiring more quickly. Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, call for vote.
Treasurer Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Hires?
Yes.
Trustee Beamish?
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood?
Yes.
Trustee Dignan?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Clerk Baraco? Yes. 7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Next we have the last resolution of the evening. This is 713-2339, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to authorize the 2023 capital improvement bonds through the state of Michigan's Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF, for the River Road Water Main Extension Project, and that full resolution is in your packet. I will not read the entire thing. It is up on the website. There are probably 10 pages, 9 pages of this. It is basically a document that is required for us to complete and to pass this resolution to authorize these bonds. Again, just as a reminder, we have to do this even though this is loan forgiveness. I did in anticipation of questions. Again, even though we've answered these questions dozens of times over the last year, but I did receive again assurance through our counsel. He has been manned through Miller Canfield, and he says the debt issuance is anticipated to be $5.1 million. The DWSRF loan program is a drawdown program. The township will submit draw requests after the closing and each month thereafter until construction is finished to draw down proceeds from the bond as needed to pay for construction. The township's engineer will likely be the one to prepare these draw requests together with supporting documents like contractor invoices. The request is then approved by the township and transmitted to Eagle. Within a few days, the Michigan Finance Authority will pay the draw request by depositing bonds in the township's construction fund for this project. The state has offered 100% principal forgiveness for this project. The bond loan funds will be forgiven immediately upon each draw, so no repayment is required. This forgiveness will be shown on the debt schedules prepared by the Michigan Finance Authority prior to the quarterly conference call, the first one that we're going to have scheduled for July 31st. This information will then be written into the bond that will be executed by the supervisor and clerk, along with various other closing documents prior to the bond closing. Okay, and he's resent this this resolution. Okay, so can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Greenwood and Beamish. Any further discussion on this? Questions? Okay. Okay, call the vote. Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Supervisor Joe. Yes. Clerk Baraco. Yes. Treasurer Miller. Seven yes. Seven yes, motion carried. All right, very good, thank you. All right, and now we are done with our resolutions. That seems like a hefty pack. And moving on to public comment, last public comment of the evening. You may speak on anything that is on your mind related to township business. Same rules apply as earlier, same rules for public decorum. And if you'd like to address the board, come up to the podium and state your name. Mr. Van Gogh?
Peter Van Gogh from 650 Glenwood Avenue. $6,000. $6,000. What did we buy for $6,000? The esprit de corps that was mentioned by our supervisor? The esprit de corps, I believe that's French. Are you insinuating that someone at this table has exhibited esprit de corps? You're the one that said it. How about nolo contendere? I believe that's Latin. Nolo contendere. $6,000. Nolo contendere. In case you don't know, nolo contendere means no contest. It means I'm guilty of sin, but I don't have the intestinal fortitude to admit it. $6,000. And the clerk lied. Lied, and lied with a straight face. That security guard was in here right after the supervisor walked in. Long before Mr. Digman and myself walked outside. Lies.
Personal tax on the clerk event acceptable.
Stating a fact. Stating a fact. If she wants to sue me, she can sue me.
Mr.
I hope you do.
Stick to a township business, okay?
It is township business. She stated it from this table. That makes it open. Lawyer, would you like to step in?
Continue, Mr. Van Gogh. No.
7 armed, angry men. I was there. There were 3 firearms I could see. One was possessed by Mr. Dingman, one by Mr. Schatz, and one of that really tall guy. If anybody else had them, they were concealed. Lies, 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 and lies with a straight face. $6,000! What did we buy for $6,000? Honor, integrity, guts. $6,000. You know what honor is? That's when you give it back. That's when you pay it back. That's when you stop lying. $6,000. Why are we down to 1 cop instead of the 6 that you had in here? Why just 1? Mr. Schatz is still there. He's the same Mr. Schatz he was a year ago. Did you get therapy for your grandchildren? All that drama they suffered that you told us about from this table, you opened up that can. $6,000! $6,000. What do we get for $6,000? A judge wouldn't accept the plea of nolo contendere if he didn't believe the crime had been committed. $6,000. 6,000 lies, 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 and lies with a straight face. Point of order.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Van Gogh. Anyone else wish to? Mr.
Justin Schatz again. First thing I'd like to say is, wow, congratulations to the people of Marshall, Calhoun County, Michigan, America. It's a big victory for democracy. The opposition to the Marshall megasite won in court. There is an injunction in place. It does appear in a few days it's going to be more permanent. I'm sorry for our township attorney's loss over there, because we have too much collusion here. You know, it's a pretty strange thing to me that during that time, our attorney took the side of the lobbyist here in the room from consumers with no basis. He just told us, oh, it's not a law, it's a policy. But I think we should go with it. There's no reason he gave, except except that he just thought we should go along with the cronies in the room. And that seems to be the trend here, because we're told things like, oh, we don't check on getting competitive bids for CEI because they're just the engineer. They just do it. That's just how it's done. You're just ignorant. You don't know how the big wheels do it here. Well, it's funny. We did have a different company, Fleece and Vanderbrink, doing our master plans and stuff like that. But when former disgraced Supervisor Scott appointed our new attorneys without a board vote, without any competitive bidding, he just somehow selected them magically out of a hat somewhere. They were connected with quite a few people. The MTA for one, and also seemed to be a lot of other groups like McKenna and Associates, who now has taken over doing our master planning. Also the same group that works with his same law firm on the mega sites around the state. Seems to be a lot of people in each other's back pockets and people not checking things for the right reasons. But that seems to be okay with certain people here. You know, it's a real simple comparison I'll give you. We had a public meeting. We asked all the people in the neighborhood, do you want this water project in your neighborhood? All the hands went up and said no. A couple hands went up and said, when they asked, is anybody on the fence? A couple hands went up. And they asked, is anybody for it? Not one hand went up. The board still voted unanimously to put it through. But when we were proposing a new rental ordinance, and one landlord came up and spoke, oh, it went back to process. It went back to procedure and meetings and just crafting it just right to make sure nobody was upset by it. But a whole room full of mere peasants changed nothing. Here tonight, we were ready, but consumers changed the opinion.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Schatz. Anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Mr. Heikela.
Mr. Heikela. That voice is phenomenal when I get up here. So, Mr. Schatz, in a meeting, quickly turned around to the audience, and you, like a tyrant, decided to throw him out. And now here tonight as other people, and what he was doing was simply referencing one of your employees here and their actions. You freaked out on him and kicked him out. Like a tyrant, as I said, you've done on video now repeatedly, your actions show it. Because you didn't do anything here in the same manner that you did. It's because you're a freaking tyrant. Minutes from the meetings are the record. Why do we need extra things to micromanage the new guy? The minutes of the meeting are here. Why would you need something else? Oh, because you are pretty powerful with your micromanagement and the power that Marxists want. Ah. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I called you individually. Every one of you, if you now vote for the upcoming transit authority, you're going to be voting for the central planning system that Marxists have been pushing in this state. I know because I was on the statewide board pushing it back in 2015 before I shut down the Marxist organization in our community. Jonah. No surprise that Mark Hires speak up for the big business and money and power because that's what he is and controlled by and has always worked for because that's what he does. Barry, what an amazing change you've done here now. As you now claim to want to listen to the people and make your decisions. Why is that? When, yes, we sat here, you're the one that asked, hey people, is there anyone here that supports this? Crickets. Oh man, Jody was looking at you during that time. Shut your mouth. It was the look on her face. Oh yeah, keep making faces. It tells everyone the story, people. But now you changed and want to be a representative of the people somehow? You don't even live here. You don't even live here. You're a criminal right now, as well as this man, and needs to be removed. Point of order. Point of order, nothing. Just, shut up. I'm going to finish saying what I need to say. Just stop interrupting me and let me finish my minutes or give me my time back.
That was your first warning.
Give me my time back.
Second profit warning, next time, Mr. Heikela, you'll be removed.
Seth, I would approve for you, Seth, to make sure that she understands the Title 42, 1983 violation that you guys are already going to be sued for. Non-statutory duties, what non-statutory duties are you expecting of our treasurer's deputy that's going to increase the welfare of the public? What stupid comment to make? What a ridiculous comment you are.
Everybody knows Beavis lives up in Delton now.
Mr. Van Gogham, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Anyone else wish to address the board this evening?
I do. Go ahead.
Hi, Melissa McKay. I would like to thank Mike and those on the planning commission. Anytime I've had a question or concern, I've looked at other solar farms, had a lot of issues. I had concerns about what would come to our township. And Mike and others on the commission have definitely, they've gotten back with me with any question they didn't know an answer to, so I have to say that I very much appreciate what they've done. My main concern is the contamination. 7 Mile Creek goes through my property, and if that's contaminated, we get recontaminated, that would not only that we have a responsibility as Bedford Township to the residents, but everyone downstream, because they'll be affected by it as well. And I don't know if consumers understand, like if you look at a medical marijuana growing facility, the amount of setbacks and the screens and all the rules that they have to jump through. So they are not the only ones getting put rules to. So I don't, and I understand. I do understand their plight. They have to, by federal law, they have to go with the alternative energy, but they need to understand that we have to live amongst it. So we want it to be beautiful. So, and I think we do need to learn from Marshall. They are close. I have friends that are residents over there, and with the solar farms coming in and what it has caused in their community, I hate to see that happen to us, and why wouldn't we learn from somebody else? And, why should we just go about it and think it won't happen to us? So I do appreciate, and that was where a lot of my input to Mike went to. So, or questions, and like I said, he's always been very good about returning my phone calls. So I really appreciate it for all of his service and all the service that the whole committee's done. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Ma'am?
My name is Barbara Riley, and my concern is the Airbnbs. Yes, we have one on our street down on Dana, and I was told by Mike Savio that there is no ordinance regarding it. So consequently, we have a person that said they were buying the house so their kids could go to Gull Lake School, and they're running a business on it. Wouldn't you consider that a business? We have 12, 15, 20 cars on the weekend. We have young kids in our street, and we've got strangers coming into our community, and we don't like it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Hello, my name is Richard Barber, owner of 21025 Dana Drive. I'm the owner of the house that was just mentioned on Dana Drive. We bought the home I think 5 years ago. We have the home inspected for the most recent rent ordinance. I know Mr. Savio very well. We've chatted on the numerous times he's come out. We host ladies crafting groups. They come in and they craft in the winter time by the fireplace next to the creek. We host golfing groups. It's not just Airbnbs. We've had a construction crew stay there for 6 months. The neighbours, both sides of us have no issues. The neighbours across the street have no issues. We have a great relationship with them. one offered to come in tonight and write a testimony. I said, maybe later, not right now. As far as I'm aware, with no complaints from any of the people on the streets of the township regarding noise or nuisance. We have a driveway that holds. I don't know, it's never been full, but there's no need for street parking always on the driveway. It's a very long driveway. We also actually have noise sensors on the outside of the home. There is ever a noise problem at the house, and it goes above a certain threshold, I get a text message, and we put a stop to it right away. There's never been any noise complaints because we've stopped it before it even became an issue. I don't believe there's any need for a change to the ordinance. I don't believe there's a need for a short-term rental ordinance that they've done in some towns. And like I said, I can bring my neighbours in and they'll tell you how much great neighbours we are as owners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other member of the public would like to make public comment this evening?
So, I don't know, maybe this will be an unpopular opinion, but I would like to thank the board for doing the resolution to expedite hiring. Having just been through that process, in regards to the zoning administrator, took a long time to get somebody in there. It's a very difficult time. It was very, very difficult for the PC. So we went through a process and we saw that it didn't work, so we made a change. That's what we're supposed to do. So I'd like to say thank you to the board for recognizing that, however that came about, and making that change. Because as the liaison agreement and myself said, we're in the middle of a very, very difficult process right now. So it's important that the office stays full. Obviously, it's upsetting that we're having turnover yet again, but I just wanted to say thank you to the board for recognizing that change in process needs to happen there. And that's encouraging to see as far as that goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other public comment this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to trustees' personal privilege. Trustee Damon?
Yeah, I'd like to address a couple things. First, about the Dana Drive, I'd like to personally go on the record that I've never met Mr. Barber, never seen him before this second, but because of this issue, I was contacted by one of the residents on Dana Drive. They live right next door to Mr. Barber's house. And they contacted me so that I could express to the board that they've had nothing but good experiences. They said that they received unsolicited notice in their mailbox from whoever was wanting to make an issue of this, and they said that if there was any problem, they would know it. They literally live like 20, 30 feet away. Matter of fact, the woman I spoke to said if there's ever a car issue, it's because her house is kind of the local family get-together for their family. And they said Mr. Barber's home that he rents as an Airbnb has never had nearly the amount of vehicles at his house that she has on most weekends at hers. And she actually knows about the decibel meter that he has outside, and she said there's never been an issue at all. So I guess I'm taking that as gospel that the people that live right next door said he's a fine neighbor. It's a very respectful place and has respectful people at the home. It's not a party house. And I guess I would be cross-eyed from everybody putting a decibel meter outside to make sure it's not a party house. But the woman right next door said it's just not a problem. And it has craft groups and sports, like golfers and stuff like that. It's not a party house. So, and the other thing again, you're right, we have to say it every month. I feel sorry that the residents that are here for real information have to listen to it, but I guess by now they know it's just bombastic lies. But the meeting that we had for Ellis Road, we didn't go forward with the project. We went forward to submit the bid to pay for it if the residents and the board agreed that we want to go through the project. So, nothing but lies. I'm not going to sit here and listen to BS. that's not what the board did. And speaking with people on the road that I spoke to on the phone and in person, even the ones that said, yeah, we don't wanna hook up if it comes here, but let it come here so that people that wanna hook up can. But we never voted to go through with the project, and the people that mobilize and once again just wanna, cause trouble, they know that. So, enough, I'm done.
Thank you. Trustee Beamish?
I just find it interesting that a couple individuals try to represent themselves as role models when all they are is just troublemakers in the community. They're loud, obnoxious, rude, liars. They spread false information repeatedly. One of them, even the majority of the residents of Bedford recalled several years ago because of his poor performance. Another one represents himself as a social reformer and servant of the people, and not serving his own interests. It's just mind blowing that these people exist on the planet, and all they want to do is just cause trouble. And like the lady that was in tears at the Ellis Road, she's not here tonight probably because she can't stand to be in the same room with such rude, crude individuals. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Hires?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight. It was a long meeting, it was arduous, certainly. I want to thank personally Mike for the planning commission and all their hard work. I know we went through a lot to get there, and I recognize that work, so hopefully that goes forward in the right way for everyone, but specifically for the residents of the township.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Greenwood?
Yes, there are a few points of clarification I wanted to make. Hopefully you could address this if I'm presenting anything inaccurate, but I believe you did say CEI is looking at having 5 competitive bids for the project.
Well, there were 5
They're
five
at the
companies that
pre-bid.
came to the
Pre-bid.
pre-bid conference.
They were okay.
There were 4 that actually submitted sealed bids.
Okay. The other one was that Police in Vandenbrink was kicked out, and somehow there's an in with McKenna for the master plan. That's not true. I sent out 32 RFPs to every single planning company within the state of Michigan, and that was what it was based on. It was through a planning commission recommendation and a board vote to 32 different companies. As far as quote unquote shots was removed for turning around, we operate on a 2 warning system. You have 2 warnings. If you keep escalating, you are removed. So Mr. Schatz was not removed for turning around. He was removed because he continued to escalate. There are no demonstrations. Point of order.
Mr. Heikela?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing back here. I'm trying
No,
not to.
Mr. Heikela, you'll be as sorted out.
Just stop, please. You're such a joke. Okay.
Regarding the concern about solar farms, that is a legitimate issue. I believe that the planning commission has that listed as a conditional use, so there can be added conditions included on any acceptance or approval of an application. And then for the Airbnbs, there's currently a bill being drafted, and I want to say it's 4277.
Something like that.
It's in the Senate right now. And so basically what it states is that municipalities, well, the only limitation, I mean, it's really limited, but the only thing we can allow is that we can have no more than 30% of our residential properties listed as Airbnbs. We can't create any ordinance, nuisance-based ordinance specific to Airbnbs, and that it would stay as residential and would never be considered a commercial business. So that's, I think that was sent to committee June 3rd in the Senate. So if you have an issue, that would be something that you would have to contact your senator about. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I think that's everything.
Okay, thank you. And then chair, chairperson, or elected officials, so Clerk Baraco.
Just want to thank everyone for sticking through this. There were a lot of items that we covered. I know the hours were a pointed issue for you, an issue with that. Erica can probably speak to that better than I can. The elections are coming up for Gull Lake Schools and Hastings Schools, which is on August 8th. So if you want to vote absentee, you get your ballot Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30.
All right, very good, thank you. And Treasurer Miller?
I'm good. Good. Your other option is I run it the way the old treasurer ran it. Anybody want to say what that was? Anybody know? No dog tags. 2 months gone supposedly. Starts at 9 a.m.
I think the question was, I don't know if you want to address Mr. Mikey's concern from earlier about the posting on the door being 7:30 to 4:30.
Also, I don't take lunch anymore, so we're open during lunch. We'll hit more people during lunch than we will from 7:30 to 8 in the morning.
I'm just wondering if there's a way we should be announcing, just for the good of the public and the awareness of the public, that if they should choose to come here at 7:30 before they go for their shift at 8 o'clock, that they're not going to find anyone in the treasurer's office. Because I hate to find people sitting here worrying about getting to work, thinking, hey, your hours posted are 7:30. So is that something we should be announcing on the website or Facebook page?
You can if you want. I put it on the tax bill.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I think some people will skip
I'm
right
not
over
open
that.
during lunch.
Okay. I think everyone knows, we took that off the door, that our offices are open during lunch, because some people do come here during lunch, their lunch. You know, if they work till 5, they've got to squeeze that in, they've got to get that tax statement in, and most of them want, copies, or they want a copy of receipt. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Miller? Okay. All right, good, thank you. And then just lastly, again, I basically gave you that whole list of things that are going on in the township earlier, but I want to again bring up the issue that during the Alice Harmonia, both the informational meeting as well as the board discussion and moving forward with, and it was announced at that meeting to all of the people that were here from Alice and Harmonia, and it was not a good representation. We had about 5 families, maybe 6 from that area. A lot of the families were not here. Many of those families have called and said they support the project. They want that opportunity to be able to hook up to water, know that that water is not contaminated with PFAS at a greatly reduced cost if we can get it. We've made it very clear we're only going through with this if this is 100% loan forgiveness. As we were blessed with that with River Road, we hope and pray we can do that have that option for the Alice Harmonia folks as well. We know those people, many of those people are on fixed incomes, low incomes. This is a great time to have subsidization of being able to hook up from your property to that source. Minimally, if they don't want to do that water main will be there for them to hook up later at their own expense, but it will be there. For us to just not try this when we know there's PFAS contamination in that area would be, again, I would say negligent on the part of this board, and we're not a negligent board. As Mark brought up at that meeting as well, we're first and foremost concerned about public health and safety of the contamination. But we're also concerned about the property values of the people that live in those areas, who will have to disclose when they sell their house that this is a PFAS contaminated area. If we look the other way, if we didn't work hard and try to get grant funding, again, we can be lazy and do that, but we don't want to do that. And sadly, I think that some of the malcontent with the boisterous, loud voices that we have at every meeting is they're jealous. They're jealous because this board works hard. We are as transparent. Mr. Heikela, you can leave. You can leave. You don't stand in the doorway. You don't stand in the doorway. That's
Oh my God! I didn't make it work. That is the most tyrannical thing I've ever holding.
You don't lock the doorways. That's against the fire code. And furthermore, I will also say, Mrs. Heikela, that's your first warning. Got it? Good. I'm glad. I think some things come hard. are hard to get through. Ellis Harmonia residents who raised their hand, again, I want to say that I respect those people's right to self-determination, whether they want to sign up or not sign up. But it was not all of the residents that are on that road that have affected wells that were there. I also want to say that after Mr. Heikola was removed from the meeting last time because of creating another disturbance, more disorderly conduct, that a woman stood up at the podium from Ellis Harmonia and told this board that is exactly why people from Ellis Harmonia and from River Road do not come to these meetings anymore. Because the reputation of the people who create the disturbances, who want to rain chaos upon the township, have done more, and I will say this at every meeting, they are not First Amendment auditors. They have done more to suppress free speech in this township than anything I've ever seen, and it has to stop. And we will continue, as a board, to have order. If you want to behave like adults, you want to air your grievances, we want to hear them. We really do. But we are not going to have a circus here. We want people to come. We want them to be able to speak. Okay? With that being said, I have nothing else before the board tonight. Our next meeting is August 10th, 2023. We welcome you all to come back. Thank you.
In reality, the lady said that she didn't come because of the yelling. Directly after Joey was yelling at her.
There's a place for these people, and they should have been here.
That's good. We can find it out. That's right. I can't ask for a legal question. That's not legal. I'll be waiting for it.
I know, I love the doors.
I could be a pain in the neck.
I told you.
We can bring Chapman.
So I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about feeling like consumers might be excluded during your public comment, when you were talking about, are you afraid to talk on the camera? That's the man that was threatening to sue Bester. What he's talking about when he says that we were being exclusive is threatening to have, he had grounds to sue us. That's why the attorney was speaking to it and saying that we weren't being exclusive if we passed the ordinance the way it was written.
Yep.
Did they really?
Oh, you got it? Thank you. I was like, you guys both.
We gotta get them this care package.
I see you're starting to see a lot more about it now. Consumers are pretty consistent, aren't they? But have you noticed yet in the old ordinance, the one we're looking at replacing, have you seen yet where we had the thing at the bottom that made it to where any corporation was under the same guidelines as any resident?
And then my mom had fallen, she broke.
Because there's been a lot of confusion about you saying you're not understanding about how I was explaining that the old ordinance was completely protecting us from having solar
I'm
lines.
not sure exactly.
Right.
Are you referring to the amended ordinance, the first one?
No, the ordinance that was passed in 19.
Yeah, I just talked to him, it's gonna be Wednesday or Thursday.
Which by the way, I would like to correct the board who said we passed an ordinance that gave us the rights to have solar. We don't get our rights from the ordinances. The ordinances constrict our rights. So we get our rights from God.
But it kind of fits with that too. I think it fits okay with planning commission, you know, in terms of roads and stuff. So and he's knowledgeable about that too. And eventually we may find a replacement for him, but he's gonna get started.
Yeah, sure, it'd be great if they have gathers and people.
Yes,
see where we
yeah,
go.
yeah, we don't want them to decay, we don't want those roads to decay, we gotta do something, you know, so,
Yeah.
not after that investment, so, yeah, so,
Yeah, I
alright.
just got dealings with the county and the way they.
Oh, yeah, oh, I
operate.
know, yep, absolutely, absolutely.
And the
So-
other team here, I forget what her name was.
Oh, Christine Parsons, yeah, yeah.
Kind of talked down to the rest of us. They had-
Everything okay out there? Okay, good, good.
You're not gonna
Okay,
let-
Mr. Schatz, we're gonna shut the door.
Mr. McKinley said he's coming back out to meet with me. Thank you.
Oh, okay, we'll meet outside, because we're gonna shut the offices down now. We're gonna shut offices down now, we're gonna lock up this room, if you don't mind. Sorry, yeah.
Well, Valley's not gonna get away with this.
Well, the last time you were ordering Mr. McKinley to not meet with me, you almost caused a fire.
I'm not actually not ordering him not to meet with you, I'm just not in here. Have a good night.
More offensive to township business than being infected with fire.
Oh, thank you, Mr.